Aloha, my name is Hualalai Chung, and welcome to my world.
Oh,
Oh, Moni!
it's both of us, actually. Maui and me.
You know, they send through the Zoom link and they pop up. They basically ask me, they're like, okay, so like, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I remember saying like, well, you know, my full name is Keenan Edward Hualalai Chung. I'm from Kaneohe, Oahu. I love playing music and singing and dancing and, you know, telling stories with my friends. And when I'm not doing any of those things, I'm on my boat, probably stuck because my motor decides not to work half the time. One of our directors was just like, you just gave the bio of this character that we're looking at for you. To which then they said, we are the directorial staff and the production team for Moana. And I'm like, oh, snap. When you've seen relationships between places like Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, you know, or even Hawaii, Aotearoa, Tahiti, you know, there are so many crosses between each other. And so I always embrace that, you know, and that by doing so, your family, your ohana becomes so much bigger. And that's been one of the things I've really loved about the story of Moana is that it really encompasses kind of a broader spectrum of what it is to be Pacific Islander.
We found it! Really quickly.
I like to feel like I've grown up like real small town, like Hawaii boy, you know, walking around with our friends with chickens under their arms. I definitely grew up, I feel like in the culture of Hawaii and what Hawaii is. I am native Hawaiian, and my dad always encouraged my brother and I to never really think of ourselves necessarily as just native Hawaiian, but more so to think of ourselves as Polynesian or Pacific Islanders. One of my biggest passions has always been Polynesian performing arts, so like hula, fire knife dancing, Tahitian drumming, kapa haka, everything in between. But when it came to music, you know, I always fell in love with the drums. And it wasn't until like high school that I had the fond young teenage boy realization that it is very hard to serenade a girl on the drums. So I picked up a guitar. I like to feel like I'm a singer-songwriter type of musician.
1, 2, 7, 9.
But I would definitely say I lead with my heart, especially in different Polynesian musics, derives from gospel, right? And derives from church and whatnot. And I love that even more so because there's so much spirit and so much good heart and will in a lot of Polynesian music because of that.
I'm sweating from the instant pressure, trying to satisfy everyone.
The entirety of our cast, we all come from grassroots parts of the Pacific. You know, like a lot of us speak our languages, you know, a lot of us come from these communities where these funny depictions of these characters in the story remind us of people, whether it be like our parents or our friends and family. So there is definitely grown to be a connection through this story. And it's so cool to see what this story has done in our lives and what it does for people, you know, outside of the actual cast and crew, you know. There's a line towards the end of the film where Moni says, I've spent my whole life retelling some of the greatest stories of our people. And thanks to you, I get to be in one. And I remember right after finishing that last word, stepped back from the mic and started bawling. So I definitely have poured and pulled on like everything, mind, body, and spirit, you know, when portraying Moni, from being such a geek to being such a heartfelt contributor to the community. You know, like that's definitely who I like to be and who I want to be. And you know, I think the story of Moni is an amazing representation of who I am.